CLNSradio.com, the home of Internet Sports Talk Radio.
This is Austin Ames. You're listening to the Celtics Late Night Show on CLNS Radio.
Hey, this is Sam Romanella from K&M All-Star Sports. You listen to the Celtics Late Night Show.
Okay, Hoops fans, welcome back to the Celtics Late Night Show. We are live right here on CLNSradio.com. Paul, we're back from the break, and now we have very exciting guests, very, very anxious to get Coach Dave Leitao on the line with us from the Maine Red Claws. Coach, welcome to the Celtics Late Night Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. How are you doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great now that you're here.
Well, Coach, I heard some rumors today that you were either arriving in Maine today or yesterday. Are you in the state of Maine?
Yes, absolutely. I got to Portland yesterday, although I've been here a number of times during the summer. But I finally got myself moved up and ready to go as of yesterday, and was in the office just kind of working with John Jennings on putting the roster together and getting ourselves ready for the great season upcoming.
Great stuff. And I have to ask you, did you bring your shovel?
No, I'm a little apprehensive. I'm a New England guy. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, so I understand cold weather, but I know this is a little different, and I've been in Virginia for about 7 years now, so I'm a little apprehensive of what the winter's going to bring.
Yeah, just make sure you do wear those boots when you're walking into the Portland Expo this winter. I have to ask you here, obviously you're the newest coach of the Maine Red Claws, the second coach in franchise history. They were accepting applications and going through the process of hiring the new head coach this off-season. So I have to ask you, prior to accepting the job to be the next coach of the Maine Red Claws, you had built up a pretty good resume at the collegiate level, ACC Coach of the Year. I have to ask, what type of differences are you expecting between coaching college kids in the NCAA and professional athletes in the NBA D-League?
Well, I think there are a number of differences, starting with the players. Obviously, they're older. All of them are out of college, and some of them have been around basketball post-college for a number of years. And so the way you look at it from their perspective is this is their opportunity, and they're only one step away from an NBA dream. And so there's a maturity that they have that maybe an 18-year-old freshman does not have. And I think the conversations that you have on a daily basis about their development, both on and off the court, are extremely different than the motivation that it may take to have a youngster at 18 understand what growing in the game of basketball is about. So that's a major difference. On the court, there's some differences. Obviously, the game is faster. There's well over 100 possessions per team. So you have your coaching style has to be different. The amount of plays you call, the scouting, all the things like that on the court are very, very different as well. So that's why I've taken the summer to try to get myself acclimated to both the coaching on court and then obviously the player development side of things.
What types of steps are those that you did take this off season as far as preparing yourself? Obviously, we know the players, they have a lot of training they have to do in preparation for the upcoming season. But as a coach, what are some of the things that you did to get yourself ready to do the best possible job you could do this season with the Maine Red Claws?
Well, starting with the shot clock, obviously at 24 seconds, as I said, there's a lot of things you got to do, prepare. I went to a number of my friends that coach in the NBA or in the professional level, sat with them down in Orlando. I have some friends with the Magic and out in Chicago with the Bulls and a couple other places like that. And I still got one or two places that I want to visit just to get a feel for the coaching style. I also talked to a couple of people that have coached in this league, the adjustments, the surprises that come along the way. And, just how many changes you have to get ready for. I think that was the biggest thing. And so the coaching style, the philosophy, you can't run motion offense like you did in college, those kinds of things you have to adjust and adapt and change to.
Well, we talked about previously, I mentioned how they brought in the Maine Red Claws and John Jennings brought in a lot of candidates, including you. You took some years off from coaching at Virginia. What factors weighed into your decision to apply for the job to be the next head coach of the Maine Red Claws?
Well, while I was out of coaching for a little while, I went through a lot of different things, just trying to figure out, what I wanted to do in my future and where and how I wanted to do it. And the main thing that I came up with is that moving forward, I wanted to, as best I could, try to surround myself with the highest quality people. When you've been in this business of coaching, whatever it is, football, basketball, baseball, what have you, you get in contact with some really, really good people, some motivated people, some people trying to work together, and then there are a few that are not. And I wanted to make sure, after a number of years, that I could surround myself with the kind of people that I could help and that could help me. And I found that in John Jennings. He's been a guy that I've known for a number of years, going all the way back to his days with the Celtics and when he was Reggie Lewis's coach, and Reggie and I were good friends. And so that was the first thing that attracted me to Portland, was the fact that John was here, and he's got a great product that he's selling to not only the D-League but to the great fans of the state of Maine. And so the locale became important. What they're doing with an organization became important. So we started to put those factors together, and it really, really interests me.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue into my next question for you. You mentioned the fans there. Did you do any research into the atmosphere of the Maine Red Claws? I mean, obviously they have a pretty good consecutive sellout streak. I don't believe there's been a game that they have not considered a sellout since the beginning of the franchise 2 seasons ago. So what have you heard about the fans and the atmosphere, and did that impact your decision at all to join the team?
Yeah, that was a factor. Obviously, the way the ownership team and all the people involved, and especially, as I mentioned, John, have put this franchise together and really captivated what already was a rabid fan base. I played basketball in college at Northeastern University in Boston and coached there as well, and we always played the University of Maine, and every time I crossed the border into the state, you could feel that both hockey and especially basketball were very, very important. People are very passionate about it. They really care and support their teams. And I remember playing when there was a CBA and there was a Maine Lumberjacks, and that was a big, big deal as well. And so when the franchise opened up here in southern Maine and Portland area, I looked at it. I looked at the sellouts, as you mentioned. I looked at the fan interest and how they captivated, how the players do a lot of community service, and really it fell in line with what I thought was important, because the word development league is extremely important to everybody, and we have to develop them as people as well as players, and part of that is to understand how important a community is, and this is a very, very important part of the franchise.
Well, in the first 2 seasons, the franchise, the Maine Red Claws we're talking about here, they did have success both on the court and off. You mentioned the community service, obviously the consecutive sellout streak, John Jennings being named the Team Executive of the Year. I believe that was 2 seasons ago in their first season. So they've had some success, but what they've yet to earn is a playoff spot. How important is that to you, your first season coaching? How important would that be to you to get this team and the franchise their first playoff appearance?
It is very, very important for a couple of reasons. One, because as a coach, you're a competitor and you want to win each and every time you step on the floor. And when you win enough games and you're able to make the playoffs, that means you can contend for a championship. And I think that's why I coach, and that's why a lot of coaches. And second, and most importantly, I think, it's a reward for the fan base that are so supportive, as we just mentioned, to be able to give them something that they so greatly desire. And I talked a lot about it with John. First step being the opportunity to work your tail off to make the playoffs, and what that would mean to the city and this region and the whole state in general. And then to be able to contend for a championship. Given all the moving parts that happens on any D-League team, with player transactions, and as you mentioned, the team started out in his first year and had the best record in the league, and between injuries and call-ups and things like that, a lot of things happen, and you've got to be able to adjust on the fly. And so, as best I can, I'm going to try to provide some stability, a foundation based on hard work and determination, those kind of things that go into every winning situation. And if we can do that, and then adjust on the fly as what happens in this league, then we can keep our eye on the playoffs, and hopefully for the great fans that are here, we can make that happen.
Yeah, and you definitely make a good point there as far as adjusting. Since Maine the franchise was brought to Maine, I've really noticed that's probably the most key element of having a good team in the NBA D-League is being able to adjust. With the Red Claws, we saw Mario West. He's been called up 2 seasons in a row. He's a floor leader out there. He's pretty much a veteran in the D-League, and to have to lose a guy like this, you have to be able to adjust. So that was definitely a great point there. But moving on here, we talked about Mario West, but also last year the Red Claws did bring in a very young team. Both John and Austin Ains stressed that last season. I know you can't give us a lot of information about who you're looking at to bring in this upcoming season, but what type of team are you hoping to bring in? A mixture of guys? Are you looking to bring in a young athletic team? Or what exactly you're hoping to bring in this season to the Maine Red Claws?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and John and I have talked a lot about it, and as he told me with the brief history that, year one when the franchise started, they had a number of guys that were veterans that had been around the block a little bit, and he was able to have some success that way, but it wasn't as youthful as needed in terms of growth. Having guys either fresh out of college or 1 or 2 years out that still needed to grow and to use the D-League in the right way. Last year, the opposite happened. As you mentioned, it was very, very young. And when you do that, there's a lot of first-time experiences for a number of guys, and I think that was a little detrimental to the win-loss record, especially when you go on the road and you have to adjust to different gyms, and some places are half empty, and different things that happen during the course of a season. And so I think what we tried to talk about and do in preparation is, as you mentioned, have a mix. That we could have some guys with some D-League experience that are real good in the locker room, that understand hard work and effort and want to continue to get better, and then bring in some guys that are very talented, that are young, that want to learn and are aggressive, but just have to gain some experience. And so I think if you have that kind of a mix, that might be better both on and off the court, and so that's what we're trying to look for.
Okay, Hoops fans, you're listening to the Celtics Late Night Show. We are live right here on CLNSradio.com with Maine Red Claws' newly appointed head coach, Dave Leitao. David, we have a question in to our mailbag here, and I don't know if you're coming on board with the Red Claws, so you studied up on Deshaun Sims. The question is, please ask the coach a specific question to Deshaun Sims. What is his ceiling? Who would you compare him to in the NBA? Is he much of a tweener?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Who would I compare him to? That's a real good question. Maybe a guy like Carl Landry, who's carved out a really good NBA career thus far. He's played for Houston and been very, very successful. He's a guy that is a little bit undersized for a power forward, and working on his skills as a perimeter, a 3-man. And so that would probably be the first guy that would come to mind. But Deshaun is a very talented guy. Obviously, John did a really good job in bringing him aboard last year, and Rookie of the Year, and a guy that fell in love with the Red Claws organization and the whole franchise in the area. And we expect that at some point he'll be back with us. He went over to Korea to kind of get some money before we get started, but he assured us that when he comes back, he's coming right straight to Portland to join us, and so we look forward to having him if and when he gets here.
Coach, I heard you mention earlier you were a good friend of Reggie Lewis's, affiliations with Northeastern. What exactly, what were your thoughts on Reggie? Obviously, great NBA talent. I know he used to do a lot of, the Thanksgiving dinners out in the Boston area. I think he did it out of the college there for the underprivileged. Reggie was a wonderful talent and a good man. Can you talk a little bit to Reggie's talent and as a person how he's missed?
Yeah, it really touches my heart, and God bless his soul. It was one of the most wonderful people that you could ever come in contact with. The first word that comes to my mind is humility. When he was in high school, he never started a game. He was 7th or 8th man. The team was very good. He didn't usually play until late in the fourth quarter, and remained humble and understood that it took hard work to get better. he never, ever lost that mentality, all the way up to being captain of the Boston Celtics. And he was a humble warrior that was immensely talented, but conducted himself in a first-class manner all the way throughout his career and throughout his life. And, I got a chance to recruit Ray Allen, who's obviously one of the great players in the NBA now and a champion with the Celtics. And Ray is the same kind of way. They're very, very dedicated to their craft, dedicated family people, and represent themselves and the NBA and in this case the Boston Celtics organization in a very class way. And that's how Reggie was. That's how Ray is. And those are the kind of people I think that have both on and off court success throughout their life and throughout their career.
Coach, awesome perspective there. And I just want to add to it. Obviously, I didn't know Reggie personally, but as someone in his mid-30s, I watched Reggie Lewis sit on the bench for a good 2 seasons, then develop into, like you said, some of the gracefulness that you mentioned of the man before he became captain. The way that he embraced the passing of the torch from Larry Bird to him. I mean, I remember I was a very diehard Bird fan. I remember as a kid, watching Larry struggle with the back injuries later in his career, and the crowd suddenly was not chanting Larry, Larry as much. They were chanting Reggie, Reggie more and more. And Reggie Lewis, class act, never took the spotlight off of Bird, always called Bird the leader of the team until the day that he retired. Really interesting insights there on a legend whose time was cut way too short. Coach, I'm going to stay on this topic a bit. I mean, you obviously have a very large and broad wealth of knowledge with basketball. I have to. It's kind of a subjective question. But if you were going to give a speech today about yourself, David Leitao, to basketball fans, how would you describe yourself as a coach? And the reason I want to ask this, too, is because I know a lot of Celtics Nation follow the Maine Red Claws as our minor league, our D-League affiliate. And I know a lot of people always took interest in the coaching staff, and, of course, John Jennings, who was a former assistant. We want to get to know you as the person and as the coach, so we know who's going to be taking these guys under his wing. So tell us a bit about yourself in that way.
Well, it's hard sometimes to talk about yourself, but I'll give it a try. I think if you watch me coach or if you watch me conduct my business or throughout my life, the thing that I try to bring forth more than anything is that I'm a competitor. I learned the game of basketball under Jim Calhoun, and he's probably the greatest competitor that I've ever been around, and a lot of people have ever been around in their lifetime. And I've tried to carry that torch from him and put it in to the style in which I go about my business. And so whether it's playing tiddlywinks with my son or trying to win a championship, I'm going to compete and try to win in everything that I do. And beyond that is to do it like almost what I was talking about with some humility and some respect and honor for the game and the people around the game, because I think we have a wonderful sport, and all we can possibly do is contribute to it. We can't change it. We can't really influence it other than what we do on the sidelines and what we do in our communities. And so I'd like to think that I honor the game by the way I respect it and compete each and every day to be the best that I can be, and therefore have the players around me be the best that they can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Celtics Late Night Show on CLNSradio.com. We're live with Dave Leitao, head coach of the Maine Red Claws. We did talk earlier, I know you mentioned how the D-League was a fast-paced game. It is known for high-scoring games, usually above the hundreds. I mean, there are obviously the games they get high 90s and even 80s sometimes. But you as the coach, do you adapt to that and try to get your team ready to run, or do you really stress the defensive philosophies and try to kind of be the outcast of the league and win that way?
Well, the first thing I learned when I was talking to people about adjusting to this league is there are a number of people that stress, and I grew up understanding that defense really matters, and that's what really wins championships in all sports at all levels. You know, as I have said before, good baseball teams are great up the middle. They got a great pitching, great catching, you know, all the way through to the second baseman, shortstop, and center field. They're really, really good up the middle. You watch football teams over the course of times, their defense is what carried them. So that's what I learned. But I also understand that in this league and in professional sports and basketball in particular, if you don't have really, really good offense, then you're in trouble. So I think, not to cop out on anything, but I think the answer to all that is to have a great mix. You know, you have to understand that defense is effort, and as long as you get effort, you're going to get a good defensive team. But you got to be able to do it with some very talented people on the offensive end, because if you cannot score, you are not going to win.
That's a great answer. And moving on here, Coach, we know you can't comment directly on the lockout, so we're going to be optimistic here, and we're going to look at it as though a condensed NBA season is going to be played. With that being said, what is the advantage as a coach of having a team like the Boston Celtics as your D-League affiliate, with the possibility of having guys like E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson, and even Avery Bradley, who had a stint last year with the club? What's the advantage of having that at your fingertips if there is an NBA season?
You know, it's a great advantage because if you're fortunate enough to have those guys come to you, even if it's for a short period of time, then you have the ability, one, to make your team better, and two, to be some positive influence as they continue to grow and learn and get experience in the game of basketball on a professional level. In large parts, to get a lot of time, to get minutes, to maybe they're not playing as much as they initially thought that they would on the NBA level, and so they're going to get a lot of minutes, they're going to get a lot of touches, and you hope that they learn and understand how the game is played, as I mentioned before, the right way, and respect and honor, and still be successful with it. So that's what I think is a potential advantage of having the Celtics as a great affiliate, and knowing that they do a good job at choosing guys with high character and high talent.
Well, I know you mentioned earlier, we talked a lot about John Jennings. You mentioned how you had a great relationship with him. He was named Team Executive of the Year in the first year with the franchise. So I have to ask you, do you feel as though you and him can work well? Do you feel as though you can work well with him and put a good product out on the court this season, arguably the best product that's going to be out there in the franchise history?
Yeah, I think it's already happened. You know, since we got together in July, we've had numerous amount of conversations about how we want to structure the team. There's a lot of things I'm going to lean on him from an administrative standpoint and choosing the right players and the guys with the right character, the right level of talent, a balance between, you know, perimeter guys that are really good and basket protectors, big guys that can do a lot for you. And then he trusts that I'm going to coach them to the highest degree that they can possibly be coached. And that's to have them understand the situation that they're in, be able to adjust on the fly, as I mentioned before, because so many changes are going to be going on around them, and still be able to perform at a high level. And, you know, it's a challenge for both of us, and we both know that, but we're working hard and together every single day to make sure that we make each other's job a whole lot easier.
Coach Leitao, I got to tell you, you've won over this humble group of Celtics fans. We are thrilled to have you as the coach of our D-League affiliate, the Maine Red Claws. The chat room, we have got a great audience in there. They're all commenting on what a class act you are. The emails have flooded in asking you questions. We don't want to keep you any longer than committed to and you've been kind enough to give us 20 minutes of your time, and we hope that you'll return very soon. We wish you the best of luck with the D-League season starting, and we're very proud to have you as a part of our extended Celtics family.
Very much appreciated. As long as I'm not on an airplane, you can call me anytime.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
You very much. We'll be back with you soon, Coach.
All right. I look forward to it. Bye-bye.
CLNSradio.com, the home of Internet Sports Talk Radio.